otherwise known as a storm.
Not Coriolis effect, then. Why is it in the title? Why are you talking about it? Is it just so you could beg the question of a turning Earth and describe an entropic effect of high pressure to low pressure to detail why things have an actual spin when Coriolis is a not actual deflection? Oh, it seems like this is just wizardry then, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Smash the super chat to support the show.
In his own words, the equator is moving at 1,000 miles per hour sideways. I like that he threw that in. Yeah, sideways. Everybody. Great.
For you must be traveling more slowly. They must be traveling faster than you. Here's the point.
They must be. Because they are.
No, because you're on a ball.
Because we're assumed to be turning on a ball.
Yeah.
I see, because we beg the question. I see.
I'm a cloud birthed near the equator. I'm going sideways 1,000 miles an hour. Now I start marching north.
Sorry, why would a cloud that comes from the equator, that's a arbitrary line drawn based on a circle of equal altitude from Polaris at its extremities, why would that equator have clouds that are produced at ground level in the form of water vapor? Why would it be that the water vapor came out of the ground and suddenly moved at an arbitrarily moving 1,000 miles an hour sideways?
He said I'm a clown. I thought he said I'm a clown.
But what is asserted is that a cloud, which is steam, comes out of the ground and arbitrarily adopts 1,000 miles an hour rim velocity of an assumed turning Earth. That's what he's just said.
I'm not touching the Earth.
So what, not in the same reference frame? Like, ball moves straight because it's not attached to the turning reference frame? I mean, we're so far away from Coriolis effect at the moment, it's untrue.
This is now precluding the secondary reference frame, because to get net zero, we're trying to get to net zero first, aren't we? And the only way to do that is to have locksteppedness.
Nathan, I've observed personally, show of hands, who else has? Air moving in different directions above my head, shown by clouds at different altitudes, right at the same time in different directions above me.
Right. Yes, I have, and that automatically debunks his assertion that you can simultaneously be moving at 1,000 miles an hour and a lockstep rim velocity of a turning Earth he assumes at 1,000 miles an hour in the equator, or lesser speeds as you move up it, but simultaneously be moving in a different direction. Nonsense. Surface winds debunk this claim.
Worse than that, because what he's explaining and what he's trying to get across to the audience fraudulently, the way he's describing it means that this effect should happen from the equator right up along the longitude lines, if it was true, because that's how he's trying to grease the skids for hurricanes in Florida. Well, where are the hurricanes in Alaska? You know
Sorry, Brian, I'm a bit confused. You said he's trying to grease the skids for this effect. What would that be? The Coriolis effect?
Well, what he's calling the Coriolis effect.
But it isn't.
No, it's not.
No.
But
so he's describing some effect that assumes an Earth that's turning, but this is not Coriolis effect. So while he's talking about latitude lines and hurricanes and winds overtaking, if you imagine you're a fucking cloud that comes out of the ground and instantly moves 1,000 miles an hour, that has got absolutely nothing to do with Coriolis effect whatsoever.
No, it has nothing to do with Coriolis effect. But what he's trying to do here by slipping in hurricanes and the way he's going about it would mean that what he's explaining should happen in a lot more places than Florida, is my point. Because what he's explaining, there should be hurricanes up in Alaska. there should be hurricanes here now, according to his, or not in this, not here now, but according to his logic, there shouldn't just be hurricanes in Florida, if you understand what I mean, and the Bahamas.
Sure,
Right,
he started this out by describing high pressure systems moving towards low pressure systems. Okay, again, absolutely devoid of anything whatsoever to do with Coriolis effect. But in so doing, when you describe a high pressure system wanting to move towards a low pressure system, what's that called? Anybody?
Unstable air and a hurricane.
High pressure to low pressure.
Entropy.
Entropy. He's describing an entropic effect and describing that entropic effect in terms of weather. And that weather is from high, that's a high amount of pressure, wanting to expand into a lower pressure. That's diffusion, dispersion, entropy. All right, okay, Neil, is that right? So you're saying that fuck all to do with Coriolis effect, but high pressure wants to go to low pressure. So therefore the high pressure gas on Earth, 10 to the minus 17 Torr vacuum, is where that's going to want to head then, right? Into the sky vacuum. I mean, it's not going to be wanting to spin around in a non-closed system, given that there's a massively lower pressure system, according to you, directly above it. So where do you think that high pressure system's going to want to go? I'll tell you where the high pressure's going to go. Not in the form of a circle with a fictitious force doing it. It's going to want to go into the sky vacuum that you think the sky is. Because that's the lowest of low pressure systems that exists, according to you. There is no lower pressure system. That's where it's going to all bugger off to. Yeah? All of these clouds are instantaneously going to dissipate into the 10 to the minus 17 Torr lower pressure system that he's described. Again, just for clarity, absolutely nothing to do with Coriolis effect.
He also needs temperature, but needs a container.
Yeah, he needs containment for all of this. He's talking about pressure. Where'd you get the pressure from, Tyson, like I asked you at the beginning of this? High pressure weather systems, nothing to do with Coriolis. Where'd you get the pressure from? What's it contained by? Are you as stupid as the woman going in to get her tyre filled? Is that what you are? Idiotic? Thinking that you can go in and get the cushy gas pressure without having to have the tyre?
Put air?
Yeah, is that what you are, Tyson? Because that's how it seems, given that you're describing gas pressure systems in a sky vacuum and alluding to high pressure wanting to move towards low pressure to create circulation and ignoring the fact that there's a 10 to minus 17 Torr vacuum directly above it all in your sky vacuum spinning world. It's absurd.
I'm floating in the atmosphere, and I see
Atmo what now? Sphere-shaped air? What? Oh, I got my answer when I found out where he's getting his gas pressure without a container. He's assuming that air arbitrarily takes a sphere shape. Atmo, air, that's the gases we're breathing at high pressure, that they're arbitrarily sphere-shaped. Definitely not. That's a second law of thermodynamics violation oxymoron. You can't have air sphere-shaped unless it's got a sphere-shaped container around it. Yeah, back to the tyre example. I know what we need round this truck. We need some atmosphere.
What air do you want to put in it?
Where do you want to put in what? Just put some atmosphere around it. Sphere-shaped air. Put that around the rim. Yeah, Mr. Technician.
You feel like it's flat?
Well, no. Tyson's just explained what you need. You need some sphere-shaped air. Get me some sphere-shaped air and stick it around the rim, mate. Don't need the tyre. Don't need a container. It's going to arbitrarily take the shape of a sphere. So stick some of that sphere-shaped air, atmosphere, around the tyre, mate. Yeah, get on with it. Atmosphere. What's your problem? Air takes the shape of a sphere, right? Yeah, stick that around my tyre.
the low pressure system, and I find myself overtaking it.
All right. What, on your way to the sky vacuum? You're just debunking space over and over again. The lowest of low pressure systems in all accounts in your heliocentric world is the sky vacuum, mate. What are you talking about?
He sounds like he thinks like there's a NASCAR race happening between the Earth and the air. because it keeps saying one of them overtakes the other. Like it's a race he's watching. It's hilarious.
And I end up veering to the right.
Veering as in an actual deflection? Is it just me? It sounds like he's describing actual deflection.
Yes, he is.
All right. Does he not understand that Coriolis effect, as we've detailed it multiple times with this bullshitting liar on screen? It's not an actual deflection, you stupid muppet. How are you comparing this to Coriolis effect when the ball in the example here isn't actually curving? It only looks like it because you're turning beneath. But you're now describing the actual curved path of winds? Oh, well, then you're just thick. Maybe I've been too harsh on Tyson. He's just stupid. Oh, no, he deliberately described the fictitious force of the curve in Coriolis earlier. So, no, he's not thick. He's a charlatan, a fraud, a scammer, a scumbag, a lying bastard, deceiving you all. He knew it was fictitious at the beginning of the description he gave. Now it's making a wind turn. That the Coriolis effect in this title? No. Lying bastard Neil deGrasse Tyson actual force making this wind turn.
And by the same token, a puff of
Hang
cloud.
on, Nathan. Hang on.
Don, he knows it's an optical illusion. He knew it from the beginning. So you're right. He is a lying bastard.
No, he said on previous show that he will not debate flat earthers because they can be too charismatic. All I've seen you do is use the Socratic method.
Yeah. Fictitious? What is it the fictitious force that made the wind turn if you're imagining yourself to be a bloody cloud hippie?
North of that low pressure system, it too wants to reach the low pressure system.
So it wants to reach the sky vacuum. The high pressure wants to reach the sky vacuum. That's a low pressure system. Trim that out. That's going to be trimmed out. Definitely play that again.
The low pressure system, and I find myself overtaking it. And I end up veering to the right. And by the same token, a puff of cloud north of that low pressure system, it too wants to reach the low pressure system, except it's traveling slower than.
So it wants to, the high pressure system, go into the low pressure system. Right, Tyson? That's very interesting. So high pressure wants to go to low pressure. So if we had a sky vacuum, 10 to the minus 17 towards pretty low pressure, it would all want to go there then, wouldn't it, Tyson? Neil deGrasse Tyson debunks outer space. That's right, it's entropy. High pressure going to low pressure. It's a natural law of nature. You're describing laws of nature with your gas pressure for your hurricanes. And the description comes with the high pressure wanting to move to the low pressure in line with entropic law. Yeah, 10 to the minus 17 towards the lowest of low pressure in this example. All of the air you're breathing at high pressure would go into the sky vacuum, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, with an actual curve that has absolutely nothing to do with Coriolis effect, because he's a lying bastard. Sod all to do with what he's titled this video.
Then a low pressure system. So it goes south and it lags behind. So all the air migrating north ends up ahead of the storm, and all the air going south ends up behind the storm. You put all this together, you get.
And you've got an actual curved path of the wind that's got absolutely nothing to do with the fictitious force you described earlier. You charlatan. That's what we got when we put it all together. You greasing the skids for science with your sycophant, describing a fictitious force of something curving when it's actually moving straight, and then juxtaposing that with winds actually curving with an actual curved path. You lying charlatan magician. Yeah, we've put it all together for you, mate, and pointed out your scummy, scammy lies.
Get a counterclockwise circulation around the low pressure system.
Definitely not a fictitious force, then, that you described when you were describing Coriolis effect. So what's this non sequitur segue with bullshit that assumes a turning Earth? Definitely not Coriolis effect.
Otherwise known as a storm.
Not Coriolis effect, then. Why is it in the title? Why are you talking about it? Is it just so you could beg the question of a turning Earth and describe An entropic effect of high pressure to low pressure to detail why things have an actual spin when Coriolis is a not actual deflection. Oh, it seems like this is just wizardry then, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Smash the super chat to support the channel.
No airplane could ever get to Akragana because there's no commercial airliner in existence that can fly the speeds you need to fly to get to where they need to be.
In football
There'd be
games,
no way around it.
and if putting chalk on old-fashioned record players playing at any speed at all, Chuck. All right, guys, we got to call it quits on the Coriolis effect. I didn't mention who the dude was who first came up with it.
Came up with it being not actual deflection observed from a non-inertial turning reference frame as you turn beneath something moving in a straight path in an inertial reference frame. Came up with it. You didn't even detail it. You talk about chalk on a record player and actual deflections and winds that have actual rotational values as opposed to not actual deflection. So what you're now going to detail and cite who came up with the crap you went through?
No, my notes here.
No. I think he's going to go back to the real definitions for his final switcheroo.
If I may, I'd like to make another point. Don M said this in the chat, which we both know we're Giants fans. NFL games start at 4 p.m. Eastern time or 3:30 with its wild card special playoffs. Any game, no game is in overtime at 5:45 or a quarter to 6 p.m. So right out the bat, Neil deGrasse Tyson lied about his experience about the overtime. I just wanted to put that out there. That's how much of a liar he is.
Sorry,
he doesn't even know the...
You're right,
huh?
But he also thinks that American football's around.
Exactly. He's stupid. He's a stupid liar. That's it. That's all.
Get his whole name right.
Time was
Gaspard Gustav Coriolis.
Oh yeah, he's totally fictitious.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Nobody would have that name in real life.
Well, only his force is a fictitious force. That's all.
Oh, back to it being a fictitious force. How did it curve a ball?
There it is.
There it is.
Oh my God.
I thank you. I thank you.
Adam, you called it beautifully. Adam Meakin, ladies and gentlemen, called it just before it happened. Absolutely epic. I didn't think he'd loop back and double down back on his original assertion of Coriolis and its fictional force. Hold on. So, fictitious? So right at the end, you've summarised it as a fictitious force. How did it curve a ball? Why is it causing winds to change directions? What has this got anything to do with the not actual fictitious force that I went through as you were bullshitting about wind and turning Earths and hemispheres the whole time I was pointing out this fictitious force and how it wasn't what you just discussed, Tyson? Yeah, I also have absolutely no issue whatsoever calling you a lying shit and calling this man a sycophantic science bullshitting scumbag. That's what I'll call this guy. Because what did you offer? All you were there for is to insert Coriolis where he couldn't so that you could lie about what it was as he detailed something it wasn't. That's what this guy, that's all he did. Say, oh, well, we're talking about theories. What fucking theories got talked about, Dumbo? None. So just here to pad the minds of the guys watching and the girls watching that this might somehow be science. Make sure you elevate the position of the guy bullshitting you to being somehow in line with science. That's all this man did. That's all he said. He inserted Coriolis when it wasn't being talked about and made it seem like it was science. You are scum. Tyson is a lying bastard, and the comedian's too thick to know what's going on around him. And he's being used as a useful idiot to be sawn in half.
Oh, not him.
Nathan, look, as soon as you address, like, oh, but you said that it was a real force, now it's a fictitious force. Well, all he's going to do if he was actually facing you indirectly through the internet is just like, oh, no, I'll just go back to how it was a force again, right? Because he can just switch back. Like one time it's a force, then it's not a force, and he can just keep on juggling left to right, left to right.
Oh, with me, you can't.
This is a true shit sandwich, yeah? He's given science either side of the shit he served up for the majority. He started with it, describing it fictitious with the correct description. He ends with it. It's the gall of the man. He got no shame, has he? No shame.
He knows
it's not a 50-yard field goal either. It's a damn 42-yard field goal. It was in 2018. And it was kicked by Ted Nugent. Cat scratch fever. This is
Tom Brady, weren't it?
It wasn't Tom Brady.
Tom
It was
Brady.
Mike
They all
Nugent.
know it was Tom Brady. Brian,
wasn't Todd Brady.
All right.
It was Mike.
He published a
was
paper in
Mike
1835.
who I
with this
called
analysis.
Tom
So
Brady did it.
this is still relatively modern, last couple of
Nugent.
hundred years.
Yeah.
Get the understanding of this, given how long we've been thinking about the natural world.
I realise that because he begs the question. He can say that the natural phenomena of star rotation. He didn't bring that up though.
No, but that's why when he brings in science,
Actually,
technically,
hold on, that's a good
within his
point.
hold on. But hang on. Technically, within the paradigm that he's pre-assuming, that would be a naturally observed phenomenon.
Hold on. You've just struck on something accidentally that I hadn't thought of. This is a show called Star Talk, and in the back, there's a fucking telescope. Right? Why didn't he detail the 15 degrees an hour claimed to be Coriolis deflection of the stars once? Why didn't he detail it? Do you want to know why? Because it would absolutely piss in the face of the garbage nonsense that he convoluted with 1,000 miles an hour sideways winds and actual deflections when detailing fictitious forces. Yeah? Because as soon as he details the stars seeming to drift, literally no effect but Earth turning beneath them, he's in line with the actual description of Coriolis effect instead of the bullshit globiolus that he detailed. So that's why on Star Talk, he literally didn't mention once the claim that Coriolis effect is observable in the stars. He didn't say it once.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant.
So anyhow, that's it.
No stars. Star Talk. 15 degrees an hour claimed to be deflection by Coriolis effect in the stars, Neil. Why didn't you mention it on Star Talk? I would expect the bare minimum of Star Talk to have stars included, especially as it's the primary claim of Coriolis effect. Would it be that every single smegging word that you just said would be violated by the claim of a 15 degrees an hour turn of the Earth underneath the stars? When you claim there's 1,000 miles an hour winds and deflections and actual curved paths of balls. No, it would absolutely violate that if you just described a flat-out simple, not actual drift of the stars at 15 degrees an hour, wouldn't it? So you didn't mention it on Star Talk? I wonder why, you fucking charlatan.
Yeah,
well, when you
because he's
spend
trying to-
half the
Sorry, go ahead.
video. Sorry, man. You go ahead. You go ahead.
No, you go. I go after.
So yeah, I was gonna say, well, the thing is, when you spend half the video giving excuses and disclaimers as to why the thing that you're claiming doesn't actually happen, you can't really point to the thing that has the same basic cause, right? The stars rotating, or the same cause of the Coriolis effect that he's supposed to be detailing. Well, that always happens. It never stops. So you can't spend half the video disclaiming how that doesn't happen, and then talk about another effect that does always happen. That would be a problem. So that's why he can't talk about that.
Right.
I'm done.
Because they actually do, in their rhetoric, they are is proper Coriolis, and we do observe it. You know what I mean? Whereas the last thing he wants is actually for you to be able to observe it. He spent the whole on chocolate, it's also explaining why we don't observe it, don't feel it, and that's how we know it's real.
For this
because he has to
installment
claim.
of Explainers,
1 second, Nathan.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
1
here.
second.
Keep looking up.
Wanted to check that was the end of the video.
But-
Go on.
No worries. He has to claim that both Coriolis and Globiolus, he has to claim both of those simultaneously. He needs to be able to claim Coriolis for the stars and the sun and moon. Well, not the moon, sorry, the sun and the stars. And he needs to be able to claim Globiolus for the Earth and effects that he's claiming we observe or claim happen, or the way that he claims they happen. So he can't speak about the two of them in the one show, because one would be the actual Coriolis effect and the other would be a load of made-up nonsense. So he can't do that.
Right, and we got the made-up nonsense version in this video. No Star Talk. But with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making this live, and there won't be an after show today, possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, maybe hitting the PayPal link. Maybe I'll get a new chair, who knows.